So I finally got around to reading a sequel book in Goosebumps. I don't know why, but I'm usually the type of guy that I prefer the one-off stories in Goosebumps because it's its own condensed story, and for the most part they haven't been done before later on in regards to different series within Goosebumps. But for the sequel books, they're usually and obviously the most popular because they have the most stories involved in them. And Monster Blood has been a cult classic in regards to Goosebumps. It's been in a lot of promotion. It's appeared a lot throughout the Goosebumps series. Even in the GYG books, I've heard that Monster Blood has appeared multiple times. And it's one of the most divisive, I think, popular books because, or not even just popular books, because the first book is divisive, but the series as a general, because I noticed that it either has a very big cult following. Obviously, a lot of people are going to like Monster Blood for the simple fact that it's nostalgic, or they really, really like the concept and idea. And then you have a group of people that are like, it's either mediocre or bad. And for me, when I read Monster Blood 1, at least, because I have to read the other books, because Monster Blood is a series where the main characters are kept throughout it. Evan does carry through all of them. Similar to Carly Beth, even though Carly Beth and Haunted Mask 2, she was still there, but she wasn't the main focus. But Evan is the main focus, I think, throughout all of these. When I read Monster Blood 1, I actually enjoyed the book for the most part, up until the climax ending, which I thought was pretty sloppy, but I did like the majority of the book. I really like the main characters. I like the concept of Monster Blood, even though it's goofy the way that it operates and stuff. I do like the concept of it, and I wish it was explained in more detail towards the end of the book. And I do like the pacing of the book, because I know people had a complaint in regards to they don't feel like a lot happens in the story, which I do agree. But I do like the pacing of the book being a slow burn, because if you're not a fan of slow burn books, you may not like this one. And even if you are a fan of slow burn, you may not like it simply because of the rushed ending. But I think that this Goosebumps book could have been very good, or at least regarded as good within the community if it was longer. I think the main reason why this book is weak is because of the fact that it had page constraints. Because back in the original 62, the books were not as long as some of the ones you get in Most Wanted. I'm actually reading a Most Wanted book right now, Zombie Halloween. I think that one's 140 pages around there, or maybe like 136. But obviously the original 62 are shorter. So I think if this book had more pages, that progression through the slow burn would have continued, and it would have led to that payoff at the climax ending better. Granted, the climax ending is still goofy, but Stein threw in little tidbits and parts that kind of made you understand where the ending was going. And if he kept that progression, just the ever so building towards the climax like he did throughout the story up until the very end, I think it would have made the book a lot better. So for those who don't know about Monster Blood, what is the story about? I'll give you a little synopsis. So Evan is a 12-year-old kid, and his mom and dad are basically going to Atlanta to try to find a new house. Trying to find, I guess, like a new house to stay in. Maybe it's for work, maybe it's for something else. It's never clarified. But as a result, Evan has to go stay with his aunt for at least 2 weeks minimum. And his aunt is an extremely weird woman. She's deaf, and she decided not to learn sign language or bother learning how to read lips, so there's effectively no way to communicate with her. She talks to herself, she can't hear you, and you just kind of have to put up with it. You can write on pieces of paper, which does happen later in the story, or you could gesture and she'll figure out what you're kind of saying. But in terms of direct communication, there's no way to do that. And she's also kind of scary. She's, she has moments where, like, when they walk in, she's carrying a bloody knife that she used to cut beef, and she, like, comes up to you and she's like, "You like beef, kid?" Like, back up, lady. She's also makes jokes about, like, cooking up the dog and putting it in a pie, and the mom's just like, yeah, Evan, she's a real funny lady, isn't she? All right, I gotta get out of here. And she just dips, obviously, because once she sees the aunt basically holding a bloody knife and saying she's going to cook up the dog, she obviously decides, hey, you know what, screw my kid, I'm going to leave. Which, fair enough, Mom. Don't do that, moms, but, and Evan is clearly worried. Throughout the house, she has various different magic and sorcerer books. If you couldn't see where that's going, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Little hints throughout the book. And she has a little bone pendant on her neck. And a lot of the times throughout the book, she's this very brooding, kind of menacing character. But she does have moments where she'll just like start giggling and make herself laugh. And she will have moments where she's like seemingly compassionate towards Evan or whatever. She's like content with Evan. And then there's other moments where she just seems sort of miserable. So basically, the aunt is a variety of characters. She's just like, I think her name's Catherine. I think Catherine is a variety of different emotions where she could either be completely scary and menacing, she could be compassionate or content or calm, either in that range, or she could just seem depressed. She's got those three and she goes through, with them throughout the book. And what happens is Evan ends up meeting Andy, who's another girl the same age on his block. And they decide to go to either one of two toy stores. There are two toy stores. There's a newer one and an old antique one. And they decide to go to the old antique one because Andy says that's the more cooler one and she wants to get something for her cousin. So they walk in there and it's super dusty and the store owner's super old and he's like aggressive and standoffish. He doesn't want to talk to the kids. And once Evan manages to go in the back, he finds a can of Monster Blood. It's called Monster Blood. It's a blue can. And the store owner insists that it's not for sale. And, you know, Andy and Evan keep trying to bargain. He's like, no, it's not for sale. And he's not willing to give it up. And then as soon as Evan kind of convinced them, he's like, all right, I'll sell it to you, but be careful. That's all I'm going to say, kid. And then they get it. And shortly after, later in the story, that toy store does happen to close down. So a lot of suspicious activity going on with this can of Monster Blood. And Andy and Evan start playing around with it. And they start suspecting that it's growing. And it's actually pretty clear that it is growing, right? It starts exploding out of the can. You know, when they first open up the can, it's just this sort of normal slime. It's cold. Then it starts getting more elastic, stickier, starts getting warmer. It starts popping out of the lid. They have to put it inside of a little coffee cup. Pops out of there. They have to put it inside of a little container. Pops out of there. Eventually it keeps having to go bucket, bathtub even, keeps on growing, and they realize this thing just keeps on expanding. And unfortunately their dog, they have a dog who eats a little bit of it, and Evan suspects that the dog starts expanding. And what I really like about the book is the fact that it is a slow burn progression book, in that it starts off with the Monster Blood being cold and they're playing around with it, treating it like a normal toy. Then the dog eats a little bit of it, and then they notice it starts growing, and then they start, you know, Evan starts hallucinating, thinking, is the dog growing? No, he definitely grew, or maybe it's because he had a late growth spurt. That's not off the hook. It's possible. And then eventually he starts getting these dream sequences, which, again, add to the book. And the dream sequences add this level of, like, foreshadowing and kind of, like, tension within the book, because the two dreams that happen in the book consist of Evan's dog getting to double its size and chasing down a pair of bully twins that have been harassing the main characters throughout the book. And it starts roaring like a monster, and it turns into this kind of like wolf-like beast. And, you know, Evan realizes, oh my God, that's not my dog anymore. And then Evan wakes up. And then it goes to the second dream sequence where he basically realizes that he's grown twice the size. He's becoming a giant. He's outgrown his bed. He's about to outgrow his room. So, and it's hinted that it's linked throughout, maybe to do with consuming the Monster Blood. If you happen to consume some of it, then that might be the case. And obviously, Evan's dog has already consumed some of the Monster Blood. So you start getting the hints that, all right, he's growing. Is that dream sequence going to happen? And then for the giant Evan thing, there are points throughout the book where you think that, you know, he either lands on top of the Monster Blood, or even at one point when it fills up to the bathtub, the cat that's in the house, which is, you know, the Catherine labels as evil, pushes Evan into the bathtub of Monster Blood. And you're afraid, all right, is he going to consume some of it by accident? Is that how he grows to a giant? You have this level of tension and foreshadowing throughout the book. And you may or may not find out where that goes to. You may or may not find out how it's all linked together. And, you know, Catherine has warned Evan, you know, be careful. The store owner has warned, be careful. The store closes down. There's a lot of suspicion as to what this Monster Blood is. And throughout the book, it just keeps growing. It keeps expanding. And you can sense this, like, you kind of feel bad for the kids. You sense the level of dread that Andy and Evan have that they don't know what to do with it. And, you know, you're just kind of hoping, can Evan leave? And if Evan leaves, he's going to leave it with Andy and Catherine. So you wonder, is it his responsibility to take care of it? He did buy and open it after all. So yeah, I think this book is an overall good slow burn. I like all three of the main characters. I like Evan. Evan is a likable main character. He's pretty competent. He's pretty enjoyable. I really like Andy. I like Andy's character a lot. And I like the way that Evan and Andy interact. They're pretty interesting and good duo, I have to say. They're one of the more fun duos. You know, they're not like sibling rivalry. The one thing I like about these two is they're actually friends. You know, they actually get along. They actually understand each other. When Evan is worried, Andy is compassionate. When Andy's worried, Evan is compassionate. You know, they take care of each other. They look after each other. And I like that about these guys. They really do care about each other. They really do like each other. And they're pretty competent. They're pretty, you know, understanding towards one another's feelings. Catherine, I like her as well. She has that level of three different people where you get the side of her that's very menacing. You get the side of her that's happy and kind of compassionate. There's more to it. Then you get the side of her that's, you know, kind of sad and depressed and you're wondering what's about her. She's a very interesting character. And I think that these three make the story more enjoyable. Their interactions, their personalities make the book better. And I do like the slow progression, the slow burn. Up until the ending, which to me takes away a lot of points from this book and make it more so, you know, just an average or above average book. Not exactly good in my opinion. You know, maybe decent, but not like standoutish. Because the ending is very rushed. It sort of just throws everything at you and doesn't give you room to kind of process what's going on. And it seems much more goofy. The book is naturally goofy, but it seems much more goofy because you're thrown into it, where you just feel like everything's happening all at once. Bam, 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 bam. And then, you know, you get to the ending of the book. And this big kind of finale until the very, you know, twist ending of the book, which kind of carries on for sequels. The ending to this book, I think, could be solved. Although if you don't like the goofiness, you won't like the ending. But I think the endingness is weird, kind of throw in there, interjection would be better if this book was longer. Stein didn't have that capability, but if he could add like 20 pages, maybe 20 pages, 30 pages, make it a longer book, he would have more time to have Evan and Andy kind of explore the house, figure more about what's going on, investigate a little bit, have that monster blood keep on growing, and then they could also have a little bit more about Catherine explained, a little bit more about the house explained, maybe find out what was up about that toy store, have them try to find the toy store owner. What was the reason it closed down? That might bring you answers. Because at the end of the day, they have to find out what monster blood is and find out how to stop it. So, yeah. The end of the story leaves off with more that meets the eye, and if they did some more exploring and they added more pages, that would be very well possible. So yeah, overall in terms of how I'd rate this book, I would give it probably a 7 or 7.5 out of 10. I think it's an average or above average Goosebumps book. It's good, it's decent. It's nothing that stands out to me or something that I would really, I don't think I would read it again, or maybe I would. Maybe I might just read the majority of it up until the ending because I did like that part. But I think it's good. I think it's average for a Goosebumps book, probably about what you would expect. I'm not sure how it got those sequels just off of this book alone, but I think the idea of it being slime and slime being popular, and it is a cool concept. That's probably why it ended up getting sequels, because Stein realized, you know, the marketing capability of this as, you know, toy lines as well. You know, you can come out with Monster Blood toys and incorporate this into other stuff. So yeah. That's it for my review. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe and comment down below and like the video as well. That's a free way to support me. Lets me know that you guys like the content. It makes it more interactive for the community. And let me know what you guys want me to review next. I do have a couple more Original 62 books that I'm going to finish up reviewing. And I have a Series 2000 book that I read that I have to review. And I have a Most Wanted book that I'm reading right now, Zombie Halloween, that will be upcoming for a review. So stay tuned for those. But that's it for this review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to, again, comment, subscribe, and like the video. Free way to support. Let me know what you guys enjoy. And let me know your own thoughts and opinions. Do you feel the same way about Monster Blood? Do you like Monster Blood as a concept? Do you think you like the sequels? And without spoiling, what do you think about the sequels? Do they hold up to this first book? Are they better than the first book? Or are they potentially worse than the first book? Let me know all those things. So yeah, that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed, and deuces. Don't ever go to antique toy shops. And do go to antique toy shops. They're pretty fun. They're pretty unique. But if it's dusty and unhinged and hasn't been touched and the store owner's a real jerk, probably just go to Toys R Us. That could have solved a lot of things.